The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Lucas, a mix of curiosity and arrogance in his voice, stopped. What did you just say? She looked up, her gaze calm and profound. Something you're not ready to understand yet, young man. He had no idea that the woman he thought was just cleaning the floors was about to clean out everything he believed to be true. Lucas Reed had it all: private jets, designer clothes, and a last name that opened doors before he even had to knock. But on the inside, he was crumbling, failing every test, drowning in silence. Everyone had given up on him: his teachers, his classmates, even his own father. Until one day, in the quietest corner of the school, a janitor, an older black woman nobody ever truly noticed, said something that hit him harder than any lesson ever had. Lucas thought she was just cleaning floors, but he had no idea she was about to sweep away everything he thought he knew. Lucas Reed, the only son of Charles Reed, a tech tycoon whose name graced the cover of Forbes as regularly as the changing seasons, grew up surrounded by private jets, personal chefs, and birthday parties with celebrities as guests. But for all he had, one thing was missing: purpose. At the age of 17, Lucas attended one of the most elite private high schools in Atlanta. Not because he earned his way in, but because the name Reed opened doors like a golden key. No tests, no interviews, just a wire transfer and a reputation that did all the talking. Inside those marble hallways lined with portraits of powerful alumni, Lucas was known for three things: his arrogance, his expensive clothes, and his academic failure. His grades were a joke. Teachers passed him out of fear, not merit. He didn't care. Why would he? One day he'd inherit an empire. What could a GPA do that his last name couldn't? He mocked. Teachers ignored classmates and smirked through lectures like they were beneath him. When the school counselor once called him in about his failing grades, Lucas leaned back in his chair and said, "I could buy this school if I wanted to. What grade is going to change that?" The quote spread like wildfire, but no one dared to confront him. Everyone from faculty to students tiptoed around Lucas. No one wanted to risk offending the Reed family. At home, things weren't much better. His father, Charles, was a man of stone cold, calculated, a self-made billionaire who didn't believe in excuses, not even from his own son. "You're an embarrassment," Charles said one night after another call from the school. "If you worked for me, you'd be fired." Lucas crossed his arms, rolling his eyes. "But I'm not your employee. I'm your son. The world doesn't care. Either you become someone, or you'll just be another rich kid with a last name and no backbone, and I won't carry you." The silence that followed hit him like a punch. Charles wasn't bluffing. He was dead serious. The next day, Lucas showed up at school like nothing had happened. He pulled into the faculty parking lot in his sleek Audi, a gift from his most recent birthday, and walked the halls like a runway model. Some students stared in envy, others in disgust. But one pair of eyes didn't look away. They belonged to an older black woman, probably around 50, mopping the floor near the side entrance. Her posture was upright, her eyes quiet but alert. Her uniform was wrinkled, but her presence was not. Lucas didn't notice her. To him, she was invisible, just the janitor part of the background. But the pressure at school started to weigh on him. More tests, more failing grades. And then came the shock: his father cut off his credit cards, took away his car, and made him take the school bus like everyone else. One bitter morning, he passed the janitor in the hallway. For the first time, he noticed she was muttering something while cleaning. "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." Lucas stopped. "What did you just say?" She looked up, calm and unafraid. "Something you're not ready to understand yet, young man." He chuckled, but something in her words stung. She turned and went back to work as if nothing had happened. But Lucas couldn't stop thinking about her. He climbed the steps of the school building with his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. Everything felt different, colder, smaller. The smugness he used to carry through the hallways was gone. Now he walked fast and quiet, trying not to feel the weight of each step. That morning he got his literature test back, a plain white envelope folded with a cold finality. He opened it with a familiar expectation of a low C or a pity pass. The score was 18 out of 100. A handwritten note at the bottom read, "Did you even read the passage?" Lucas stared at the paper, blinked, laughed nervously, and looked around. No one was laughing with him. More tests came that week. Math was 24%. History was 31%. Biology was a big fat 0. It wasn't a joke anymore. The school counselor called him in again. This time her voice wasn't gentle. "Lucas, you're academically at risk. I'm not talking about behavior. I'm talking about failure. Statistically, you're at the very bottom of the entire senior class." "It's temporary," he shrugged. "I'll hire a tutor." "You've already had 3. All 3 quit." That silenced him. Later that day, as he left her office, he went out through the back door to avoid being seen. And she was there again, the janitor scrubbing a soda spill near the cafeteria. She saw him and smiled politely. He stopped. "You said something about Socrates last time." She slowly stood up, wiping her hands on her apron. "And you remember it?" "Yeah, it's been bugging me. It's weird for a janitor to be quoting an ancient philosopher." She crossed her arms. "What's weirder is a boy with the world at his feet who can't pass a reading test." Lucas bit the inside of his cheek. The words hurt. "You used to be a teacher, didn't you?" "More than philosophy. I taught many things before life knocked me down." "Then teach me," he said. "Please help me." She observed him. "One condition. You have to leave your name and your pride at the door. We start again from 0 from the bottom." "Okay," he whispered. I can't keep failing." She handed him a spiral notebook. "You come early before class. We'll meet here. And every night after school, you write what you've learned, not facts, but truth." "What if I get it all wrong?" "Then you'll finally be getting it right." The next morning, Lucas was at school before the sun came up. The building was still draped in fog and quiet. He walked slowly through the back entrance, clutching the notebook she had given him, as if it were something sacred. He found her Evelyn in the east wing mopping the floor in slow, precise circular motions. She wore earbuds and hummed a soft melody, maybe a hymn. Lucas stood there for a moment, feeling awkward before walking up to her. "Hi, you said you'd teach me, remember?" Evelyn stopped, removed one earbud, and looked at him calmly. "I remember. I also said it wouldn't be easy." "I don't care. I need this." "Then let's begin. But first you should know my name. It's Evelyn Wallace." Lucas gave a faint smile. "How long have you been working here?" 3 years. Before that, other schools." "And before that—" She paused, then looked him directly in the eye. "I was a university professor. My specialty was English literature and philosophy." Lucas's eyes widened in surprise. "Why would you give that up for this?" Evelyn folded her rags slowly and answered without a trace of shame. "Sometimes life takes everything you thought was yours and leaves you with nothing but what you actually know. And I still know how to teach." Lucas nodded, stunned. For the first time in his life, he saw someone truly strong who had no power. "So where do we start? I tried reading some stuff last night. I don't know how to begin." "That's the first truth," she said. "Pride fools you into thinking you already know. But when you admit you don't, that's when you start learning for real." "I can read," Lucas muttered a bit defensively. "I didn't say you couldn't read, but I'm not talking about reading words," she said. "I'm talking about understanding what's between the lines." She pulled a battered notebook from her pocket. "Every morning before class, you meet me here for 1 hour. And every evening after I finish cleaning, you sit down and write. What you learned, what you felt, what you understood. No grades, just honesty." Lucas opened the notebook. The pages were stark white, an invitation and a challenge. "What if I fail again? Then you'll finally be getting it right." The days rolled by, and a strange, almost sacred rhythm began to form. Lucas came early. Evelyn greeted him without ceremony, only questions. "How did that sentence make you feel? Why do you think this character stayed silent? Can you tell me what courage sounds like?" She didn't lecture, she provoked. Lucas started to see things differently. The books were no longer a burden. The words started to get to him. He was learning how to feel what the text was trying to say. The notebook slowly filled not with answers, but with thoughts, reflections, and fears. He wrote about his father, the pressure, and how angry he was at always feeling empty. Evelyn read every word. One night, as he was writing in the cafeteria, 2 boys walked by, laughing loudly. One of them, Josh, a football star, nudged his friend and said, "Look at little Reed, writing love letters to the janitor." Lucas clenched his jaw, ready to react. But Evelyn gently placed a hand on his shoulder and whispered, "You can't measure depth with a shallow ruler." He looked up at her. The brief comment hit him deeper than any insult ever could. That evening, Lucas opened a message from his father. Your academic record has been updated. Final warning. Improve or you're out. No trust fund, no apartment, no nothing. Lucas stared at the text. He didn't reply. But for the first time, he wasn't afraid. He felt ready. Friday arrived with a buzz and tension. The school was alive with end-of-term energy report cards, college counselors, graduation meetings. Everyone was talking about the future. Lucas walked through the crowd, clutching a folder full of redone assignments essays with glowing teacher remarks, and a draft of an article titled, "The Illusion of Power," written as part of Evelyn's challenge. He had never been proud of an academic achievement before. He thought just maybe his father would be proud too. But when he got to the office, Charles Reed was already there, standing by the window, in a sharp gray suit, checking his phone as if it owed him money. "You're late," Charles grumbled without looking up. "Let's get this over with." The school counselor, who was clearly anxious, handed Lucas's new report to Charles. Lucas reached for it, but Charles took it first. He scanned it. The grades were better. Still a long way from perfect, but a steady improvement paired with positive teacher feedback, shows initiative, active participation, significant change in attitude. Charles closed the folder with a sharp snap. "This is what you call progress," Lucas exhaled. "I'm trying. Honestly, I am." "Trying with whom?" Charles pressed. "The last tutor quit. Who's been helping you?" Lucas hesitated. He didn't want to reveal Evelyn, but something told him it was time. "Evelyn, the janitor." Silence. Charles blinked, then let out a dry, sharp laugh. "Are you serious? She used to be a professor." "She's a janitor," Charles cut in. "That's all that matters." Lucas's voice rose. "She's taught me more than any of your expensive tutors. She taught me how to think." Charles took a step closer, his voice low and threatening. "You're embarrassing this family. You're wasting time on people who have nothing to give. She sees me. You never did." Charles stared at him as if he were a stranger. "If you continue down this path, you'll lose everything. No car, no money, no name. Don't test me." Lucas felt the words burn his tongue, but he said them anyway. "Maybe I need to lose everything to figure out who I really am." Charles didn't reply, just turned and walked away. The next week, Lucas was quieter and angrier, but not defeated. The students at school noticed. The teachers did too. Rumors spread. Some said Lucas was obsessed with the janitor. Others openly mocked him. Josh posted another video of Lucas with Evelyn after school with the caption, "Lessons from Losers." Lucas didn't flinch. Instead, he printed his essay and posted it on the school's reading board with the title, "Learning doesn't make me weak. Ignorance does. Lucas Reed." The paper was taken down the next day, but its message had already taken root. Monday morning brought a strange calm. The rain had stopped. The sky was gray, but still. Lucas arrived at school early, holding a cup of coffee in one hand and the notebook in the other. He found Evelyn in the back hallway, mopping the floor near the old science wing. She looked up as he approached, one eyebrow raised. "Bringing me a peace offering now." "Coffee," Lucas replied, handing her a cup and something else. Evelyn accepted the coffee and looked at him intently. "You have that look the one people get right before they say something that changes everything." Lucas sat down on the floor, the notebook still in his hands. "I looked you up online." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "You what?" "Not in a creepy way," he quickly added. "I just wanted to know. You quoted Socrates. You teach as if you have 20 years of experience, and I found it an old article. Evelyn Wallace, tenured professor at the University of Chicago. Guest speaker, published author, award winner." She closed her eyes for a long moment. "That woman existed. She just doesn't get invited back anymore." "What happened?" Evelyn leaned against her mop handle. "I blew the whistle on a plagiarism scandal involving a tenured dean. A big, powerful name. I refused the payoff. They quietly, permanently shut me out. The people I trusted disappeared, and then my husband died in a car accident on his way to a conference I was organizing." Lucas swallowed. "I lost everything," she said softly, "except my mind." "And your voice," he nodded slowly. "So I want to make you a deal." Evelyn raised an eyebrow, prompting him to continue. Lucas laid out his request. "I want you to teach me, really. Teach me like I'm one of your university students. Don't go easy on me. Don't treat me like I'm fragile. I want to learn everything you know. I want to be someone not because of my name, but because of what I do." Her gaze was intense. Something was different in his eyes, not arrogance, not defiance. She shot back, "What's your part of the deal?" Lucas answered firmly, "I won't quit. No matter how hard it gets, I'll fail, rewrite, and relearn, whatever it takes." After a moment of silence, Evelyn extended her hand. "Then we've got a deal." They shook on it. No contracts, no fancy terms, just the truth. That week, things got serious. Evelyn built a curriculum not based on tests, but on understanding. Lucas read Baldwin Hughes and Morrison. He started writing reflections instead of standard essays. He questioned social systems, injustice, and himself. Each night he handed her a notebook filled with his thoughts, and each night she returned it with questions that dug even deeper. The school still had no idea. To them, Lucas was just a kid struggling to find his footing. But inside, something bigger was happening. A few days later, Lucas showed up to their evening session with someone new. "This is Priya," he said. "She's in my biology class and needs help with writing." Evelyn smiled. "Looks like we've got ourselves a class." Word spread that someone at the school was actually helping, not grading, not judging, but teaching. Gradually, more students came quietly, cautiously. The abandoned library became their secret classroom. There they read, wrote, debated, and shared personal stories. It was a beautiful and dangerous thing. One afternoon, Evelyn was called into the office. The assistant principal spoke in a rigid tone. "Ms. Wallace, we've received complaints. Parents are asking why their kids are spending time with the janitorial staff after hours. This is unorthodox." "I'm teaching," Evelyn replied. "You're not a certified instructor here. It's not in your job description." Evelyn looked her directly in the eye. "Neither is saving a kid's life, but I did that anyway." The assistant principal didn't respond, but Evelyn understood what was coming. Lucas heard about it and was furious. "They told you to stop. That's insane. You're helping them." "I know," Evelyn interrupted. "But that's what systems do. They don't attack what's broken. They attack what's working effectively because it wasn't designed to work that way." Lucas clenched his fists, saying he would talk to his father, go to the school board, and make everything public. "Not yet," Evelyn said firmly. "Your voice needs to be strong enough to stand on its own first. Not your father's name, but your own." Lucas nodded. The revolution had already begun. Winter arrived, bringing fog and silence. The school hallways were darker and quieter, but inside Lucas something bright was growing. One morning, Evelyn met him in the old library. She said, "It's time I tell you the one thing no one teaches. The secret isn't in grades or diplomas. The secret to true learning is transformation." She explained that most people learn to survive, to repeat what they've been taught. But change only happens when something inside you breaks and is rebuilt stronger. She gave him an old book, The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois, saying it had saved her when she lost everything. "I'm trusting you with it," she said, "because when I saw you, I didn't see arrogance. I saw you drowning, and something in you still wanted to live." Lucas clutched the book and promised to read it and write something truthful. Before she left, Evelyn advised, "Next time someone asks how you're doing in school, don't say, 'I'm improving.' Say, 'I'm becoming someone.'" From then on, Lucas walked through the school no longer as an arrogant prince, but as someone who had awakened. His eyes were no longer empty. They were focused. He started asking questions in class, participating in group work, and bravely confronting historical truths. One day in history class, he asked, "Can we talk about how the textbook glosses over slavery like it was a footnote?" The class went silent. Lucas wasn't just changing himself. He was starting to see the people around him who were invisible. The study sessions with Evelyn continued attracting more and more students. The abandoned library became the center of a quiet revolution. They learned to think, not just to write, but not everyone was happy. One rainy afternoon, Evelyn was pulled into the office and told to stop her unofficial teaching. "They're scared," she told Lucas. "Scared of a person with no power teaching students how to get real power." Lucas was determined to speak out, but Evelyn stopped him, insisting his voice had to stand on its own, not on his father's name. One afternoon, Lucas came home with his first A on an English essay all year. The essay was titled, "The Courage to Unlearn." He wanted to show his father not for approval, but for him to see the truth. But Charles, after reading it, dismissed it as just a diary entry about feelings, not academic work. Lucas insisted Evelyn had taught him how to think. Charles grew angry, called Evelyn a failure, and told Lucas that if he continued seeing her, he would lose everything. Lucas replied, "Maybe I need to lose everything to figure out who I actually am." Charles coldly sent him away. The next day, Evelyn was fired early without warning or a chance to say goodbye. Lucas felt like he was suffocating and the fire inside him went out. However, when he saw the announcement for the end-of-year speech contest with the topic, "What it means to win in life," Lucas knew this was his final battle. He wrote a speech all night, not for a grade or praise, but for the truth. The night of the speech contest, the auditorium was packed. Lucas took the stage. He began his speech. "My name is Lucas Reed. Some people know me as the kid who wasted a golden ticket. They said I had it all, but I didn't have the most important thing, someone who believed in me, until she appeared." He spoke of Evelyn, who wasn't an official teacher and wasn't paid, who only had a mop and a heart big enough to see past his anger. He said she was fired because systems don't like it when someone from the bottom starts making a real difference. Lucas held up his notebook and concluded, "Today I'm not speaking to impress you, I'm speaking to honor her. She may not be here, but she is present in every word I am saying. So what does it mean to win in life? It's to awaken, to let go of your name, to find your truth, and to use it to lift others." The whole auditorium was silent. Then one person clapped, then another, and then everyone erupted into a standing ovation with tears. From the back of the room, a woman with a headscarf, Evelyn, quietly wiped a tear and smiled. That night, Lucas was no longer a Reed. He was his own person. The video of his speech went viral. Evelyn was invited to give talks, then offered a teaching position. The doors had reopened. Lucas graduated with honors, turned down prestigious schools, and chose a college focused on social justice. He said he wanted to build a place where no one had to beg to be seen. A few months later, the Evelyn Institute was founded. Lucas ran the programs, and Evelyn continued to teach. The institute became a second chance for kids who had been written off. Charles quietly attended the opening, standing in the back, watching his son speak. Afterward, the two of them hugged, no longer father and heir, but two men trying. Years passed, and the institute continued to grow. At a National Education Awards ceremony, Lucas stood on stage again. He said, "They said I failed at everything until I learned one thing that changed my life. Greatness doesn't come from being seen, but from seeing others. And sometimes the person who teaches you the most isn't wearing a suit. They're holding a mop. Her name is Evelyn Wallace, and she didn't just save my grades. She saved my soul." From the back of the room, a woman with a headscarf and quiet eyes wiped a tear and smiled. It was Evelyn. She had come back quietly just to see him shine. And that night, Lucas was no longer a Reed. He was his own name. The video of his speech spread fast. First through students, then alumni, then the press. "Billionaire's son credits school janitor for saving his life." That headline traveled further than any Reed Corporation deal ever had. Evelyn was offered a speaking engagement at a local college, then another, then a teaching position. Doors reopened, not because of a resume, but because of a truth that couldn't be ignored anymore. Lucas passed every class, not with pity, but with purpose. He declined Ivy League offers and chose a small college focused on social justice and education. When asked why, he said, "Because I want to teach the way she taught me and build the kind of place where no one has to ask to be seen." The sun was high over Atlanta the day Lucas knocked on a modest front porch holding an envelope. Evelyn opened the door, wearing a simple cardigan and a look of quiet surprise. "You didn't have to come all the way out here." "I did," Lucas replied, handing her the envelope. Inside were his high school diploma, his college acceptance, and something else, a handwritten proposal. "I want to start something," he said. "A center, a place where people can learn like I did, with honesty, with depth, without shame. I want to call it the Evelyn Institute." Evelyn read the letter, then looked up, tears in her eyes. "Why me?" "Because everything I am now started with you. Only if we do it together," she whispered. "Always." Months later, the Evelyn Institute opened its doors in a repurposed community center in the heart of the city. Classes, mentorship, late-night writing circles. Kids who had been written off now had a second chance. Evelyn taught again with chalk, with books, with freedom. Lucas ran the center's programs, but never stopped learning. And the city took notice. Awards came and articles followed. But the real reward came when a student 12 years old and struggling handed Evelyn a notebook and said, "This place made me feel smart for the first time." She cried that day, and so did Lucas. As for Charles, he came quietly to the Institute's opening, stood in the back, and watched his son speak about justice, humility, and healing. After the event, they met outside. "I didn't expect to cry," Charles admitted. "I didn't expect to forgive you," Lucas said. They hugged, not as father and heir, but as two men trying. Years passed. The Institute grew. One evening, Lucas took the stage again, this time for a National Education Award. He held the microphone, paused, and said, "They said I failed at everything until I learned one thing that changed my life. Greatness doesn't come from being seen, but from seeing others. And sometimes the person who teaches you the most isn't in a suit. They're holding a mop quoting philosophers while no one's listening. Her name is Evelyn Wallace, and she didn't just save my grades, she saved my soul." Lucas and Evelyn's story is a powerful reminder that kindness and authenticity can change the world. If you want to hear more stories about courage, connection, and finding your purpose, please subscribe to our channel. Our journey to find the light continues, and we'd love for you to join us.